Right. So, minorish news, right? We've got the ban list to go over, the full deck list of the Jarl Armory deck, and then also the Christmas bundles, right? With the interesting new Cracker surprise, which will be a curious promo for a few different reasons. But we can probably axe that. That'll do, right? Okay, so the Jarl, right? We'll start there. Easier than going to Fabric or something. I think, yeah, there we go. That's what we'll utilize. So, here is everything in the Jarl's deck, right? But nicely separated in equipment disruption, which I do feel is obviously the Jarl's main gimmick, right? The thing he's trying to do most, so that you can then start racking up those easier to generate frostbite through his actual ability, and then all the other cards that do interact with his equipment pieces. So it is actually a little bit light on equipment disruption, I feel, right? I think he needs a little bit more oomph to actually get some of this across, because you got to remember, Buckling Blow, right, is Pine Crush. That being the other half of your counter generation, can sort of easily be shut down, right? So then it becomes a bit more dependent on your opponent and what equipment they're running. If they have X equipment to be able to, deal with not setting up counters, right? Because that is something that we will probably see happen with playstyles and everything, is they start to take equipment pieces or utilize equipment pieces more actively, not to leave counters on the board for the Jarl to exploit, right? In which case, I don't think he likes being on the back foot and not being in control of the tempo. So yeah, the fact that Buckling Blow Red and Crumble to Eternity, well, and Expose the Elements are your only ways of setting up counters is a little bit problematic, right? Definitely Expose the Elements and Crumble to Eternity far better, because you're able to put the counter out without any contention from your opponent. Well, in that sense, Expose the Elements does have a counterplay with, but what are the counter spells for Wizard? Right? Rewind. There was like 3 in total, I think. Either way, I feel he needs more Buckling Blows, right? I feel like the blue Buckling Blow string could have probably been included, and there are, a decent amount of cards that could have been cut, right? The Amulets of Ice, probably pretty top of the list, but then you have a decently large Earth package with no real payoff, right? You have the Tectonic Crust as your main way to utilize your Earth cards to get your Seismic Surge, but then the only other way to utilize Earth is Expose the Elements and Strength to Sequoia. So I don't feel that you need as many Earth cards in the deck as there is. It does open it up to tweaking in and adding in, your Decompose cards, Plow Under and Felling of the Crown. But generally speaking, I feel like he would have been better off with a blue string of Buckling Blows as well, right? I mean, God, where? Let me open Fabric, because I can probably look up all the counter generation. I'm pretty sure this is all the cards, right? And then for actual equipment destruction, the only thing that's missing is Towering Titan as the other big hit, and Buckling and Buckle, and Buckle as a Majestic. So Buckle is probably also a simple card to go after and grab and slot in, right? Probably just completely cut the Amulets of Ice, stick in 3 Buckles. But I do feel that, since this is your prerogative, you want to slice away their equipment in the early game, right? And then in the mid game, start going into your Frostbite and being able to swing with your weapon a little bit more. So, yeah, again, all the armory decks are solid. They're not meta relevant, right? I don't think this deck is meta relevant. I do think it gets run over. Obviously, there is a just extreme lack of Arcane Barrier, right? And there's a lack of any damage prevention or damage reacts. You're pretty much trying to be the aggressor, and if that falls short, I do feel you're kind of screwed, right? So yeah, it does come down to what type of equipment your opponent is running, whether or not they themselves set up their counter generation. I mean, if you took this Jarl and you put it against a who? Well, Lightning for one, right? You'd probably get run over. Pretty sure your cards just get 8 as you try to block with them, right? Because again, all your Frostbite to sort of gum them up is mid to late game. If you took it against Enigma and popping, I mean, you do have enough attacks, but then you also have 2 few attacks to use, right? God, yeah, it's an interesting line. Again, functionally, it sticks to what LSS like most, right? It is a out of the box, playable deck that does seem to run smoothly and be pretty easy to pilot in terms of what you want to do. But yeah, why don't we take a look at some tweaks that we could probably make, right? So we'll get rid of the yell. God, I have too many sources. There we go. And we'll get rid of that. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, so here is a tweaked deck list, I think, right? Yeah, okay. So Buckle has replaced the Amulet Device, right? I think that's pretty much no-brainer. Again, having more equipment disruption is gonna really be your jam as the Jarl, right? Relying on, I mean, I'm giving you also need the counter to find your mangles, right? So the step is set up a counter, block, find a mangle, swing with it. Buckling Blow as your main counter generation. I do like Exposed Elements. I don't think you want it at 3, right? The fact that you can't block with it. Late game does nothing, so to speak, right? Because you should be trying to just shred your opponent's equipment. Again, the Earth Fusion to put a counter on equipment is nice. The Ice Fusion, giving your opponent the ability to pay to prevent it, not so nice, but still decent, right? You can try and time it correctly. Frozen Death, right, needs to be fused, destroyed, but then you have the Frostbite interaction in the late game, once you have sort of destroyed equipment. Because if you... Here, where's my pen? There we go, right? So you have 3 ways to destroy equipment here. You have 2 ways to destroy equipment here. 3 in the traditional deck, right? You then have Mangle as another 3, so it's 9, right? 9 different ways to destroy equipment versus 9 different ways to set up counters in a 60-card deck, right? Where disrupting your opponent's equipment is pretty much what you want to do in, say the first half of your deck, right? So in that sense, it is a little bit bare, right? Because you do also have to find the counters before you find the destruction effects. I don't know what I'm drawing for destruction, right? So yeah, 9 out of 60, to then find 9 out of 60. Those are not great odds, right? I almost wish that his weapon had a little bit of interaction to do with equipment disruption. And then Summit itself at 6. Can't say I'm in love with it, right? It is somewhat awkward once you start, really refining the deck. So at 6, you will generally always need 2 cards in hand to swing with, right? So that leaves you with 2 cards to block with. If you have something in your arsenal and you get by your opponent, what then, right? So adding an aura to play doesn't quite work, which is a big thing for Guardian and their normal sort of stat line of 3 to 4, right? You can swing, but you can also still set something up going into your following turn. With Summit, that's not quite possible, right? So I mean, just taking Anthros, which is 3 cost anyway, right? You get it to 6. Can't take a shield, I suppose, but you can get it to 6 by easily pitching your setup cards. I don't know. It is a cool design, and definitely the Frostbite will help. But boy, do you really want to, throw out a card that gives this a buff or 2, right? Which means setup, which means that the 6 cost is just kind of awkward. If it could be fed Seismic Surge tokens and discounted, I'd like that a lot more. But yeah, the more I look at the weapon, the more just at 6. It's definitely late game value, but it can be kind of awkward to use, right? It's basically you either swing or not, right? And you really want a lot of setup. If the meta was a bit slower, right, you could get away with letting damage through if the Jarl had more ways to negate damage. I mean, you can take, obviously, a lot of Guardian damage prevention cards and Guardian, or just normal damage prevention cards and defense reacts, right? In that sense, it gets a little better. But in the current lineup, right, the game plan is literally just, attack with Buck and Blow, attack with Earth Form, attack with Snow Under, find your Mangle, attack with Ice Encounter. Try to run through your opponent's equipment, and then lean into just swinging and potentially playing, 1 extra card. So, for instance, like Polar Blast. So Polar Blast costs you 1. That takes Summit to 7 cost, right? So you need not only Polar Blast in your hand, but then still 3 additional cards. There is no way to discount Polar Blast. There's nothing in the deck that will cover that 1 extra cost of Polar Blast. So in order to utilize Polar Blast with your weapon, which I think is a pretty decent ask, You need to have it in the arsenal. You need the arsenal not to be disrupted. And then you still need to maintain 3 cards in hand. In which case you have 2 resources left over, and you probably want to go into an aura, right? So it feels like it's kind of awkward what you want to use your equipment for. You almost want to save it all for the mid game, right? You just attack, you set up an aura, you use your cards to block with, which, you know, going into fatigue is not the greatest thing either, right? And then in the mid game, you're trying to lean on your weapon swings by utilizing your equipment and saving cards to combine it with, right? I mean, what else do we have? So you play Winter's Grasp from the arsenal into Summit, but, you know, opponent discards 1 and then you're swinging for 6. Is that crazy with everything that's current in Fab? Not really, no, right? I'd almost like this at 4 or 5, right? Or heck, if it was 3 and then when it becomes heavy, cost 6 maybe. But at 6, to me, it seems a bit awkward, right? To play anything else with it and still have the correct cards pitch. Even you know, tweaking the deck and taking, you know, yellow cards and more red cards then becomes also a lot more awkward with Summit as well. So yeah, I like the design. I like what it does functionally, but I think the 6 cost is kind of putting me off, right? If you were to take the Jarl of the Living Legend, you definitely just slot in Winter's Wail, right? But it is still a solid deck nonetheless, although I should probably pull up the actual deck, right? So, anything else of discussion worthy? Yeah, the 23 Majestics, right? So, 10 new card designs. I'm curious about that, right? Do they count the Jarl in that as well? Because they count the Jarl as part of the 23 Majestics. Fine, right? You know what, I should probably just open up the correct deck list. I think it was somewhere here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so in the Jarl, right, you have Jarl Rathe as Majestic 1. New cards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, okay, so the Jarl does count as a new card as well, right? So we should get used to that. Right, that everything is counted. So Jarl's part of the 10 new cards, and Jarl's part with 23 Majestics. There is no, obviously, Majestic Shield. We've already seen it's just a Steel Braid Buckler, which is not a horrible inclusion, right? Again, it leans into what they're trying to show off with Summit. But, you know, I was kind of hoping for an Earth Majestic Shield, something interesting, something to help round out the deck, because it has like 12 Earth cards with 6 plus the chess piece payoff, so, you know, 8 payoffs at most. You know, it feels like it could really benefit from Decompose, just one set of Decompose cards to make use of the cards that you're sending to the graveyard. And then Strength Sequoia also feels a weird inclusion with how conservative the curve of the deck is, right? A Seismic Surge token does very little for you, right? In the case of Mangle, you most likely always want to use it with the Gauntlets. So it's not 4, it's 6. So 1 off 6 is still not going to be a single card. Buckling Blow going to 1 card, sure. You can't buff or you can't utilize it with Ice Encounter Earthworm because they're not Guardian attack actions. Snow Under 3 is already quite cheap. Taking it down to 2, you're still using a card. If you're combining with Aurora, you're still using 2 cards. And yeah, altogether there's not even that many targets though. You've only got 2 generation through the chess piece, and then 3 generation through Strength Sequoia. Merging Dominance would be my preferential pick over Strength Sequoia, right? Instead of Seismic Surge, you're giving an attack Dominates, which will definitely help you land some of these effects, right? You still take the blue. But yeah, it's on par with all the Armory decks, right? Maybe a little bit better thanks to the equipment involved and the new design, right? The new mechanic of tearing through your opponent's equipment. But it feels like it would be better suited around the Hunted, right? It feels like interacting with those heroes and what they're looking to do is going to be a lot better for the Jarl than interacting with, you know, the Rosetta meta, Enigma, right? But yeah, out of the box, it's fine, it's serviceable, but Emirates Vice, easy thing to cut and change. Other stuff to upgrade. Sigils of Earth, right? I personally, see their value. I super dislike Sigil of Earth. The whole idea is you spend a turn putting it out, to then bank on the turn after that. Well, it's actually 2 turns after that, right? Well, 2 draws after that, getting cards to use with Embodiment of Earth, which, in the Jarl's deck, mind you, there is 30-some non-attack actions, right, to use with Embodiment of Earth. So generally speaking, you will have 2 to 3 in any hand when you have Embodiment of Earth generated. But it does seem a little bit too slow, right? I'd probably cut that and the Amulets of Ice or something a little better, right? Probably Buckles and Oak and Old. It could probably do with slightly more attacks, but if you also wanted, you could just change Snow Under to Oak and Old. They have essentially a very similar effect, except Oak and Old is Earth and Ice Fusion. Again, you have plenty of Earth cards. You have a decent amount of Ice cards. I think it's 18 Ice cards overall, 12 Earth cards overall. So you should be able to land Oak and Old somewhat consistently, right? At the very least, cycle it around and definitely land it consistently. But it does the same thing if it was fused against Dominate. Sorry, not the exact same thing. It's 3 for 7, that's what I mean to say, right? So it's the same stat line, right? But with a Dominate generating and discard on hit effect, which I do find better than just the symbol, the singular Frostbite generation. Anyway, what else? There is this Jarl page, right? So let's go through that. Right, so what he starts with, and your main idea, more or less? No? Yeah, I was still really expecting some sort of Mangle recycling, right? Because that's another thing. Because as long as you have the gauntlets, you can get really decent value out of Mangle. A 6 for 10 with Dominate is kind of nice, right? So having ways to cycle back Mangle is also going to be a decent decision for the deck. We have the showcase. I haven't watched them fully, right? But I always feel that obviously they want to show off the Jarl properly. So I'm guessing he runs over dash. No, not completely. Expose the elements. Glacial Footsteps. With the fact that you can time Tectonic Crust, I do think Mantra Grande is better, right? Because you can get that to 6 and guarantee it's Dominate versus this being late game. I mean, you have plenty of ice cards late game anyway, but this late game and also having to have a card in hand, right? So you need to pitch 2 and then maintain something to reveal. Even if you time Strength Sequoia and Tectonic Crust and get 2 Seismic Surge, it's not going to help. It's still going to be 4. It's still going to be most likely 2 cards and maybe one other card that you want to play alongside with it, along with a card to reveal for the fusion. So, yeah, I think a more consistent card you probably take. Right, but we have upgrade your deck. So the suggestions, Pulse of Ice and Loft, that is pretty much a no-brainer, right? Take out at least 1, expose the elements, stick in a Pulse of Ice and Loft. Slagmite, same thing for against the Steel Braid Buckler, right? Exact same stat line, right? It's still Temper 2, but it has the Frostbite generation, so pick them up. They are steadily rising, right, in value. So if you picked one up a year ago, you'd be super happy. If you picked up like 10, it'd be even more. Now, Coronet's Pique. So summon is expensive. It pays to have another move available that only requires 1 card. So the idea here would be to set up and then go into summon. The problem I have with that is for the late game, your auras, none of them are actually the auras that interact, I believe, with your weapon, right? They're all attack action cards. Yeah, Emerging Avalanche, attack action card. Strength Sequoia, attack action card, and Strong Yield. No, Strong Yield, there you go, interacts with your weapon. Probably find better auras in reality, right? Bolden is the big one, although Bolden at 4 cost. At 4 with Coronet's Pique. So 7 in total. To set that up and add 4, right? I think it's 4 for the blue to your weapon. I think that's more of a decent choice than Strong Yield, right? But nonetheless, the suggestions are somewhat tame, fair to usual. But you will, of course, need the majority of normal deck tech cards, right? He has no Arsenal disruption. He has very little hand disruption until you get your Frostbites going. Yeah, it is a conservative deck list by LSS in order to ensure that, as per usual, right, you never sort of miss, right? You're going for your fusions, you will most likely always have the correct cards in hand. You're going for X play, right? You will definitely have more than enough resources, but there is definitely a decent amount of tweaks be at, right? So I think that's the majority of what I want to cover, right, for the Armory deck. Now, granted, there will be stripped down versions of this to its bare bones, right, and slotted in, proper earth packages with decompose, maybe lining it up a bit more into ice to really just fatigue your opponent. Yeah. The lots that you can do with the Jarl, right? And then we'll have to see what happens once we get, some more Guardian Sport later on in the year, or later on next year. But the December 2024 Armory Kits, right, has a very, very interesting cracked bubble. Now, I'm hoping that these aren't perforated, right? So the way it works is, well, you can read it, right? When this is pitched, you and your target randomly choose opposite ends of this and pull them until it breaks in half, which makes it sound like it will be perforated. And then each hero creates tokens on the back of their half, and this ceases to exist. Now, exciting in the sense that, for one, it is you create the token on the back. So technically, Florian can duplicate all of this, right? So regardless of what you get to create extra, right? Say you got courage tokens. You get 2 courage tokens, which would be kind of cool, kind of high rolling, but yeah, that's an interesting thought. That's where my mind goes. But the other way to look at this promo is there will be some percentage of the community that does actually utilize it, right? Does actually play with it, does actually break it. So, there will be a lot out there, but maybe something worth keeping, holding on to. It's definitely a novelty, right? Being a Christmas cracker, being a break into 2 cards. Depending how it looks too, it might be cool. Where would the scene be, right? Probably about there as the cracker. So someone would get the cracker, someone would get the text. But yeah, kind of cool. And the fact that it's when it's pitched is interesting too. So you still get the 2 resources plus the token generation. So it is a dime store fable in that sense, right? Very, very interesting choice. Probably, oh God, you try and find all 20 variations? 20 in what sense, right? Because there's 4, 8 here. God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So is it 16 by 15? No, that can't be right. How do you work out the number of combinations? 16. No, there must be some that aren't lined up to work in conjunction. Although, God, some of these are not balanced, right? 1 player getting Body of Lightning, 1 player getting a Frostbite. Diamond and a Soul Shackle. The Might and Quicken is a bit more even, but having something good with something bad, that could definitely screw you up. Definitely interesting design choice, right? Then we have the playmats. Regrowth Cold Foil. Now, as nice as this card is, I don't know if I really like it for Briar, right? So return attack action card that costs less than X from your graveyard to your hand, breaks the total of arcane damage you've dealt to your opposing hero this turn. There are so many easier ways to return cards in Elemental Runeblade, right? That I don't know, right? I mean, to hand is super strong, sure. But yeah. It'll be worth something, right? It's Cold Foil. Count your blessings. So, you definitely want to hold on to your blues, right? They will return at some point. And then Spirit of Christmas. Each hero chooses a token. Oh no, chooses a hero, right? And then each hero chosen creates X token. Is there a big blown up version somewhere for me to gawk at? No? Fine. Right, so mostly a novelty effect. The artwork is what we really enjoy, right? So everyone gathering around the Christmas tree. I don't know why I closed it. So who do we have? We have Kasai, Oldhim, Dash, Aurora, Raya, Rhina, Betsy, and Novelty Guy. That's interesting. Oh, and Riptide in the background, we have Lexi with a dangly arm. I think it's just rotted flesh, right? And Prism as the Christmas Angel. So some faces are missing. But nonetheless, right? A good onslaught. Could definitely be a nice pickup. Alright, and then the ban. So, High Octane banned. Pretty much a no-brainer, right? Fully expected. Puts a little bit of a dampen on Dash, on Mechanologist in general. God. Problem is, it is a hefty loss, right? Because that's one of your big payoff turns to really just deal damage to your opponents. I think, again, current meta, we're leaning a lot more into preventing damage and having adequate block, right? So doing normal things as a mechanologist without those extra, say, 2 to 3 attacks. They went from top to probably mid, if not a little bit less, right? And Count Your Blessings, blue has been banned, so still can run red, yellow, right? The ceiling has been reduced from 9, so to speak, to 6, or I should say, what it actually be 8 to 5, right? Because you have to play the last Count Your Blessings. But it is stated that, right, design-wise, they do like Count Your Blessings. Here, fundamentally, Count Your Blessings isn't a problem. It is the lack of interaction with your opponents, right? So at some point, once the toolkits for all the heroes are a little bit more developed, mainly, in the forms of preventing life gain or, preventing damage prevention, we will see Count Your Blessings returned to play. So with the Christmas bundle, it's definitely worth picking up the blue Count Your Blessings. Then for Blitz, then is back, right? I still find it curious that they're leaving him at 500 points. I feel like he should have got some sort of bump, right? Because now he gets comparison. Victor Goldbane, I think, went to 900 points from 4 something, right? So he has this little smidgen of life left, whereas Zen gets a whole second life. I mean, people are really interested in Zen. I think it's more just the tempo he has, right? Especially in Blitz. Then yeah, fine. He'll be around for quite a while more. I mean, he should also stave off the cycling of other heroes too, since I'm sure a decent amount of players from X hero have gone back to Zen, right? But with Zen back, Belittle is banned, and Hadron Collider is also banned for Mechanologists. So Hadron Collider increases the stat line, if you will, of your early game cards, which in case of Blitz and the less HP, they can be quite impactful to get, an extra 2, 3, is it 3, 2, 1 damage off the red, yellow, blue? Isn't it per Steam counters on the Hadron Collider, right? God, I'm trying to do cards off memory. Yeah, so, yeah. Decent choice, right? They'll monitor it, how easily Data puts other stuff into play. Alright, and then Living Legend, Open the Floodgates, restricted for Kano. Just way too much draw going on there. Being able to push your onboard button, your hero ability, right? Get an Open the Floodgates, pour 3 resources into it, get 6 out of it, right? 5 resources into it. I forgot about Open the Floodgates cost. Get 6 resources out of it is too strong, right? Any resource cheating, any card cheating in that sense is, yeah. Problem in a hero like Kano, though, right? It is Living Legend, but I will say, for all the other wizards going forward, having Open the Floodgate restricted is a bit curious, because their whole engine relies a lot more around cards in your deck than obviously having just your button on board. So yeah, if at any stage they do out, we'll see what the go is there. Starstruck has been returned to Stravo, right? Everyone else is pretty much catching up as we continue to see the card pools evolve, so Stravo is not as dominant as he once was, and he can have a little bit of his power back. Then for Commoner, Aether Ironweave is banned, right? Too quick of a resource generation. Overall, its effect is a little bit better, right, than a Commoner level effect. Yeah, a sizable advantage to get 2 resources, right? It is 2 off of playing an attack and a attack action card, correct? Yeah, so that, especially in someone like Aurora, definitely can get out of hand, right? Low Chain's use of it seems, right? Yeah, there we go. With Chain's offensive overlap, most value, yeah, I'll bring the most value from a chest slot in Commoner format. Okay, well, that is, I think, all the points of discussion made, right? Let's crack Uprising, I think is what I grabbed. And some loose packs of Outsider and Dicey, just because the store had them at the time. Let's see, I want this one. Beautiful. We do that, and I will grab not TCG, not Good Games, which is my TCG. No, I clicked on it anyway. TCG Player is what I want. Right, so we can look up the cards as we pull them. I mean, one day the dragons will come back, and that will be very worth it, right? But, you know what? We'll see if we get lucky with 2 Outsider pack and 2 Dynasty pack to start off. hit anything big. Alright, so for outside is 1. Spike, backstab, and a death touch. So unfortunately, no M, right? Full codex off a loose pack. Super happy with that. But we'll have to see, right? Chances are no M. Alright. Seekers, short and sharp, recoil, and humble. Yeah. Oh well. That's the way it goes with loose packs. Definitely like the consistency of the box a little bit more. Dynasty time. Wow. Interesting. It's paperback, right? So this is Belgium. Yeah. Always throws me off that the Belgium cards are, slightly thicker. At least they feel slightly thicker to me. Or maybe it's better quality cardstock, right, than the Japanese printings. Okay, let's see. Withstand. Interesting. And Precision Press. So nothing too exciting, right? But some Guardian Instance with shield usage. I do think there is a decent clause for was it Rampart's Head in the Jarl, right? And taking a cheaper weapon. Because as long as you have enough playables, right, you can definitely get more than enough Frostbite generation. Every ice card, if you take an ice card that generates Frostbite, it's essentially 2 Frostbite. So you don't necessarily need the weapons on hit. Alright, second Dynasty pack. Well, we did get an M. It's Celestial Komodo, so not that fantastic. Jumpstart, Blessing, and Blessing. Although, it's something I do like with the Celestial Komodo is you use it with New Enigma. Well, not Enigma. Enigma New Moon, right? I guess there's a new one there. To have a fairly decent burst turn, right? Saving this to flip with her ability and then, destroying ward stuff. Wait, no, I've completely misread that, right? It's once per turn. Never mind, it's once per turn. Alright. Uprising box. We should probably go to Uprising, right? What's the point of having this on screen if I'm not going to use it? Although in saying that, Uprising itself has, jumped in value. I think I have a box full of them somewhere, right? Same with Regicide, although I don't know if the normal version of Regicide has really gone up. Also, might do with drinking this a little bit. Yeah, you can sort of see a card. Main point is card and price, right? We go to Uprising. Flamescale Furnace, I'm assuming, is still probably the top hit. Oh, Crown Providence as well. The Flamescale Furnace is getting up there. But yeah, you probably just want to hold on to your dragons till later. Renet's Peak. That can't be right. No. Market price is the average of all sales, is it not? Or average of recent sales. Yeah, no, it's significantly less, right? That's interesting. There are 17 listings, so no idea why it is displaying 164. I guess hasn't updated properly, right? It's the one listing. All right, but nonetheless, right, when we see what we can find in the box. Wouldn't mind more Marvel Dragons. It's probably worthwhile. I was hoping they'd drop a lot more, right? Then start picking up the Marvel Dragons. Because, I'm pretty sure we're all expecting Dromai to return. I think the go now is either in the Hunted as an expansion slot card or, a bonus card. Do something like similar to the gold packs of Miss Vale. I don't think that's long enough, no. I think it'll be 3 sets before we see gold packs, right? I do think we'll see them again. But, given LSS's development cycle, I think they put them into Miss Vale, waited for public opinion, if you will, right, before they included it in more sets, right? So I don't think it'll be implemented. I could see Dromai in the expansion slot, right? That's just a way to reinsert her into the play, right? I don't think she needs many new cards to still be functional, right? She's got a decent chunk of Miss Vale movement cards to utilize as well. Right, maybe 1 or 2 cards in the expansion slot. I mean, she's had 1 or 2 cards in the expansion slot as well. Almost every other set since her banning. So yeah, either that or the next armory deck. Although the next armory deck is sort of in a awkward position, so I'm not sure if it is going to be Dromai. We'll have to see. Nonetheless, let's see what we can find from Uprising. Get my rubbish box in order. Okay, so let's go for a Scar, Blazing Headlong red, that's actually still a fairly decent pull, right? Alright, Tome of Firebrand. So, it does seem like Chain Links will be somewhat of an easy ask for both Warrior and Ninja, right? With the fact that they can convert a lot of things. So I do think that's a fairly decent pickup, right? Then we have... No, wait, where are the res? There the res. Alright, so they're all in the middle. But the cold foil is still at the end. God, I'm so glad we have consistency nowadays. You know, I will zoom in. Yes. Yeah, there we go. That'll be easier. Right. Pack number 2. Brothers in Arms. Wait, you can also get equipment sporadically. Rare. No, okay. So it's 3 cards, equipment, your rares, or majestic, then your foil. And I have to check the end. I will probably check the end until we find a cold foil elsewhere, just in case. Alright. Right in, Heat Wave, Strategic Planning, Invoke, Yondura, and a Burn Away. So Burn Away is additional cost by Burn Away. You may banish Phoenix Flame from your graveyard. When you do Burn Away, it gets +2 and go again. Not a great card, right? Because you don't really play Phoenix Flames in Dromai, right? And you don't really want to banish them as Bay. Yeah, so none of there. Although back again. Oh. Come on. Focus. Alright, Sigil Permafrost. Sigil, what's the defense reaction? I'm curious, right? Do sigils leaving the chain link count towards the gloves for Wizard, right? Maybe that's something to look in with Oslo, because there are sigil of the parapet, right? That you can block with. Rise Up and Sand Cover. How much is Tome going for? It's been speculated on at all. Quelling Slippers? What was Quell? If you're to be dealt damage, you may pay 1 to prevent. Yeah. Okay, so Physical Arcane Barrier. Transmogrify, which I do also like, right? Converting cards to Illusionist, aside from the Gates Phantasm. It's quite interesting. Plus, you're buffing a card to 8. Another Invoke. And a Singe. Right, and nothing at the back. So, Erase Face is probably the big one, utility card-wise. I wonder if Thor will go up at all, right? Maybe once we get, Draconic plays, we could see that as Frostbite counter. Yeah, I'm gonna say Tome is not that impactful. Does Fae even take Tome? Or is it sort of just unnecessary? Instant to draw 2. Oh, you should generally have the resource. Alright, there's our Tome of Firebrand. That is... Nope, it doesn't know. No, that's weird. Not a hefty... Well, actually, it's a hefty decline. Yeah, curious. Right. Not that exciting. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Warrior generally has a decent time, leaving resources on board. And if your weapons are Draconic, to just be able to swing 4 times doesn't seem like a heavy ask either. So, yeah. Or did am I crazy and Tome of Firebrand got hit? God. How do I even search? You know what? I can do this much easier. If we just go to Fabry, we basically just open any deck that can run it, which I don't think I have. No, there we go, Dagger Warrior. Right. Firebrand. Yeah, okay, never mind. It's not going to be illegal. Damn, that would have been exciting. Wow, yeah, it's just a better Tome of Farendale, so, that makes complete sense. Alright, oh well. What else can we find? Golfing, another Invoke, and Rising Resentment. Right, and nothing in the back. Alright, so far nothing too exciting. But who knows? Another Sigil, another Sift, Ice Bolt, and nada. Dampen. Deal 4, prevent the next X arcane damage that will be dealt to your hero this turn. X is the damage dealt by Dampen. See, they've sort of tweaked how long a wizard can go. Well, no, God, that's horrible English, right? They have reduced the amount of actions, right, that a wizard can take on your opponent's turn. So a card like Dampen, while definitely an interesting effect, while we still have the design of Klloo, I think we will probably start seeing more cards that, are until the end of your next turn, etc., right? In which case, then it would be kind of decent. Well, that'll do. Okay. Nothing else in that, but yeah. Ravenborn Blood of Drakkar. Exciting. When you pitch Blood Drakkar, the next 3 Draconic cards you play this turn. It's kind of exciting, right? For Fae. Not Fae, for Cinder and Fang. I mean, it's on the rise, right? Alright, well, that's at least the box. So, okay. That. Need the Blood of Drakkar in there. And we're yet to find the Cold Wall either. So who knows? It could be something else as well. Side flippers, flex. Insidious Chill. I do like Insidious Chill. And nothing in the back. So Insidious Chill, right? They included Amulets of Ice in the Jarl deck, right? And Insidious Chill is essentially the same effect, but you get 3 blocks of it. Now, I think it's good enough to actually take in the deck. I think you can take it with Emboldens, right? And the fact that it covers Emboldens, it sticks on the board. It's a target for opponent's disruption, right? If you set up other auras, there's this whole, is Insidious Chill going to be worse, right, in the long run than X buff? So, I don't know. I kind of like Insidious Chill for the Jarl, right? I kind of feel like just taking a full Frost line. Flex, Sigil, and Flamefall's Awakening. Back. Well, I'm saying that, I'm sure it's not, actually. Two greats appreciated. The Insidious Chill. Yeah. Less than $1. Well, it might be going up, right? There's listings for it at the very least. I could say that Jarl taking it, right? Every time you Ice Fuse, up to 3 times, right? Cause your opponent to discard. Yeah. Well, the question is, though, how do you really benefit from that? You could probably get 1 off going into a swing. It does... Oh, there's the Cold Wall. They were at the back. It does allow you to, take more Ice Fuse cards, more Ice Fuse attacks, right? And maybe have more upside in the early game. Should play around with it. But Glacial Horns as the Cold Foil. Freeze. Freeze was an interesting choice, right? So freeze up to 1 card in their arsenal and ally they control. Frozen object cannot be played or activated. Till when? Until the start of your next turn. So Glacial Horns, preventing and gumming up their arsenal slot is actually kind of nice, right? When you think about it. So it prevents them using it for whatever you're doing in your turn. And then, well, yes, it does have go again. I was worried for a second, right? But it's right there. So you gum up their arsenal slots for their next turn as well, right? So straight until their end phase, they can't put anything new into it. And you know what? I have more appreciation of Glacial Horns, actually. Yeah, that's actually a nice mechanic. Right. Still looking for some better Emzo. Nada. Oh, 2 Phoenix Flames. Yeah. Still looked at the back because, we could get 2 Cold Claws and a Fable. Another Glacial Horns, Ice Eternal, Flex, and a Brothers in Arm. Nada. Also, since Ice is back, right? Do we expect Ice Wizard to return? That'd be interesting. Sure, a lot of people would be absolutely peeved. But, of the new cards, Channel Mount Ison would be definitely an interesting card for Ice Wizard. That would definitely get some real good use. Crumble Attorney is Ice Earth. Frozen Death is Ice Guardian. I think it's just Channel Mount Ison, right? Which the fact that they've left that as just ice, not directly tied to the Jarl. Yeah, so it's a possibility. Or Ice Ranger again. Would be interesting. I'd like a win con where I could just play Channel Mount Ison and burn down the opponent. But we'll have to see. Another Evoke, Searing Touch, and nothing else at the end. Almost halfway. Right. Not an M, not an M, and still not an M. Give me an erase face, right? Erase face going into the hunted as well is looking to be decent, right? Disrupting Draconic. Or am I crazy? This is one of the times where my mind doesn't quite click on what the card does. Either erase name or erase typing. It must be erase name, it's erase face. No, it's erase face, so I feel like it's typing. It was on the second page. Erase face, nope, that is a promo. Class and talent types, yeah. Okay, so erase face into Draconic, right, of the Hunted is definitely going to be on the rise. God. Only you picked them up, right, early in the year. This is definitely something always worth looking at, right? Picking up any L's or M's that are decently undervalued, because it's only a matter of time, right? Well, in saying that, it could take 2-3 years for the card to become meta relevant, but there's a whole lot of upside in just picking up all the downtrodden cards. Hypothermia, though. Hypothermia. Feel like this is not that loved. But again, going into the Hunted. Why do I just want to call it Draconic? Going into the Hunted, right? Coming up, go again. It's definitely going to be nice. So, also, potentially a decent hold. Granted, it has a lot less usability since it will only be for the Jarl. But still, interesting card nonetheless. And nothing else. I haven't really found many foil animals. Right, would you 1 or 2? Transmogrify, Invoke, Dracona, Optime. Yeah. That's actually a decent pull, right? I think the M's, well, I don't know if they still... Oh. Okay. It was double Cold Foil and a Fable. So, that was the best dragon, if memory serves, right? So even finding that as an M was decent. It's not the best, but it's up there. But we did get the Golden Dragon. Nice, right? So, yeah, quite a good box so far. I do like the design of this one. Right, because it's like your traditional gold-hungry dragon. What's the actual mechanic? When it hits a hero, gain control of an item they control. If you don't gain control of an item, draw a card. Yeah, so using that to draw. Definitely strong. Well, there we are. Yeah, $1. Draw again. Hold on to it till draw my circles back around. Alright, so what's left for us to find? Not an M in this pack. Not a third call foil either. Combustion Point. Target Draconic or Ninja attack action card gains +1. You may banish a non-equipment. You may banish a non-equipment defending card with armor less than the number of Draconic chain links you control. That's kind of nice. So +1 and then a shred-ish type effect. Is it just attacks? No, it's attack action cards. If it was just attacks, I could see, taken for your weapon usage. Because it does seem like Syndra will have, some sort of weapon interaction. Seems like they are going to focus a little bit on the daggers, which is cool. Hoping some of that translates into the wider play, right? For Ninja overall, I think Ninja and their daggers have sort of been undersold. We're due for a new dagger that all ninjas can use, right? Evoke and nada. At least one foil M has to be hiding in here. Frost, Fighting Spirits, Rise from the Ashes, and nada. Alright. Last 2 packs. We have ourselves Sift. Phoenix Form. Control 1 or more Phoenix Flames. This has Go Again. Control 2 or more, it has +2. And control 3 or more. When this hits a hero, draw 3 cards? Huh. Maybe I should have been looking to Fae a bit more. Draw 3 cards, as long as you have 3 Phoenix Flames. Ooh. That is all the Phoenix Flames in your deck. You can... Does Draconic have that many ways to convert cards? Right? Fae's still legal as well, is he not? That might be worth looking into combo shenanigans. And a bubble. It is also just Draconic. God. I doubt Syndra has interactions with Phoenix Flame. That is a hefty amount of draw. It also doesn't have Go... No, it does have Go Again if you have 1. So Go Again on a 5 that could possibly draw 3. Control 1 or more Phoenix Flame. So yeah. We might take a quick look at that. I just never really looked into Fae, I guess. To notice that card. Alright. Last pack of the box. Not that we can really ask for more. Has been a very, very good box. We have nothing. That's absolutely fine, right? So, yeah. M-wise. 1, 2. Nice Marvel Dragon. 3, 4. Facial Horns is the cold foil. Yeah, so. 5, 6. So, yeah. No foil M's. Just fine. Still on average, still 6 Majestics overall. Then we did get a Blooded Drakar. Nice Fable pull. And still a dragon on top of that. So, oh, I can't argue with it. That was a very, very good Uprising box. Right? Now we hold blood until we actually see the hunted. 3 Draconic cards you play this turn. How would that have needed to be worded to target weapons, right? God, that would have been so nice. Going into Fang, if his weapons were Draconic, and, 1 cost, just cover 3 swings. Yeah, you could definitely go for combos with that. But still, a nice gem nonetheless. Right, I think that'll do. Talked over everything we want to talk about. Yeah, I guess the only other thing to plug is if you are watching this and you have subscribed to this YouTube channel, I am in the process of shifting all Fab-related content over to a Fab-specific channel, right? So if you enjoy the combo shenanigans, you enjoy the light discussion, check out Klloo TCG, right? The link will be in the description. That will be the channel solely focused on Fab going forward. I will still probably live stream on this channel just because I can't be aft setting stuff up or, building an audience. I just stream one channel and then probably break up content into content-specific channels. Anyway, hope you enjoyed nonetheless, but we'll leave it there.